What is up, guys? Troy here, and I hope that everyone had a great Memorial Day weekend. I know I certainly did. But what is this? No Operation Metro or Canals TDM? That's right, we are playing Strike at Karkin today. Now, this past weekend was the Double XP event that had previously been postponed by DICE due to the DDoS attacks a few weeks back. So I definitely made it an effort to play quite a bit this past weekend. Ended up recording nearly 200 gigabytes worth of footage. And I made it a huge priority to get plenty of Karkin and Aftermath footage. I wanted to play and record some Rush on Strike at Karkin. Because without a doubt, Rush and Strike at Karkin is one of my favorite game modes and maps. But in all of Battlefield 3, including the DLCs, but ended up only getting to play some Conquest Assault on Karkin. And here I'm using the M4, yes it is the Burst Fire variant. I think I ended up switching to the Mark 17 Mod 0, the Scar H, a little bit later in the game. Still trying to rank up my engineer class on PC lately. It's been hard playing Engie though when going into servers that don't have a lot of vehicles. So it gets tempting to pick up the old M16A3 and a med pack when going up against a large team of players, pretty much doing the same thing. I can understand though, just take a look at my battle log, my main PS3 account, you'll see why. But what I really wanted to talk to you guys about today is my preparation for Battlefield 4 concerning my PC. Now, a few weeks ago, there were supposedly some leaked minimum and recommended hardware specs concerning the PC side of Battlefield 4. Now, to my knowledge, I don't think these specs were ever denied nor confirmed, but for what I saw, they seemed decently accurate. So much so that if your current PC runs Battlefield 3 decently, by which I mean at either 720p or 1080p at 60 frames per second or more, then chances are that it'll run Battlefield 4 just as decently as well. So my original plan with this in mind, with prepping my PC for Battlefield 4, was just to add a second hard drive. I want to be able to put out 4 to 5 videos per week when the Battlefield 4 beta gets released, and gameplay footage takes up a ton of room on my hard drive. Like I said earlier, I recorded nearly 200 gigabytes of gameplay. Well, that's on a 500 gigabyte hard drive. So yeah, it's really pushing what hard drive space I have left pretty close to its maximum. I believe I have 110, 112 gigabytes left on my hard drive. Now, last week I was talking to a friend of mine I work with about all things gaming. He ended up telling me how disappointed he's been with Nintendo lately, them pretty much shooting themselves in the foot and ending up in a pretty bad way as of late. So he expressed an interest in learning and getting into the PC side of gaming. So after talking for a while, we basically decided to pool our money together, start building a whole new PC for myself, then add a few components to my current PC, and he'll get that as his gaming PC. So for the last week, I started looking into new components, reading reviews, looking at benchmarks, and I pretty much have everything picked out and ready to go. Now I'm going to list off the various parts for my new PC build and have some image overlays showing what they'll look like so you guys can get an idea. Now, when I start a build, I always like to start with the case. So for the case I decided is the Fractal Design Arc MIDI R2. I'd been looking at a few different well-known case companies like Antec and NZXT, but Fractal Design is one of those companies that's up and coming, and they've gained a lot of traction lately. Been making great quality products for some time now. So this case, the Arc MIDI R2, has a great build quality. Plenty of room internally for cable management and actual building room. USB 3.0 on the front side I/O panel. Interesting thing about this case, I actually bought it off of Newegg about 2 weeks ago for $99 even. UPS delivers it last Thursday, I believe, and the very next day on Friday, I'm checking my usual sites for PC and tech news when I come across the Newegg Daily Deals. That's on one of the sites that I tend to frequent, and Newegg had just listed this case with a brand new $30 off instant savings coupon. I could have only paid $69, but oh well, that's what happens when you have bad timing. So now on to the motherboard. Now my current motherboard is an ASRock Z68 Gen 3 Pro 3, and I wanted to get away from ASRock for a couple of reasons. One is the fact that my current motherboard isn't really able to be future-proofed. It only has 2 PCI slots. It doesn't support Crossfire or SLI at all. And the other reason is that the LAN chip is made by Realtek, which isn't really well known for being of good quality. So I decided to go with the Asus P8Z77V full ATX motherboard. The LAN chip is made by Intel, which is pretty much the best on the market. It uses dedicated lanes, so it won't hog system resources when you're on the internet. It supports both SLI and Crossfire, which is definitely good for future-proofing, especially on the gaming side. And yes, it is an Intel chip motherboard, which means I will be going with Intel again for the CPU. Now on to the CPU. Now I debated back and forth for a few days on whether I should just go with the i5 3570K or an i7 3770K. When it comes to strictly just gaming, you're really not going to be able to tell the difference between the i5 and i7. But like I said before, I want to crank out a ton of videos for the Battlefield 4 beta and for the actual game after that. So I decided to go with the i7 3770K. It can handle all the editing and coding and rendering quite a bit better than the i5, and it's certainly a lot better than my current CPU, which is the i5 2500K. Right now, when I encode, edit, and render a video, it nearly pushes my CPU to the max. So this chip will be a really great chip to handle all the tasks I need to do, such as gaming, editing, all the multitasking, rendering, and at a lower wattage than my current 2500K. I believe 18 watts lower than what my current CPU runs now. So that's always good to be able to save power. Now onto the hard drive. You know, like I said before, I will be taking out my current hard drive and my current optical drive out of my current rig and putting it into the new one. That saves a lot of time. I don't have to reinstall my operating system. I don't have to reinstall a bunch of programs on a fresh hard drive. But I still do want to add another hard drive to the rig. So I decided to go with the Western Digital 1TB 7200 RPM hard drive disk. Now, I've been using Western Digital for about 5 or 6 years now. I highly recommend a lot of their products, a lot of their drives. I might actually, at the last second, go for a 2TB instead. I'm not too sure yet. You know, like I said, hard drive space is pretty much a premium when you're recording at 720p or even 1080p at 60 or 30 frames per second with DX Story. The file sizes are just really big. So I might upgrade it and go with the 2TB instead of the 1. Next, we have the RAM. Now, I'm going to go with the same RAM that I have in my current rig, which is 8 GB of Corsair Vengeance, clock speed 1600 MHz, DDR3 RAM. I don't need to upgrade my RAM anytime soon, and for what I want to do, anything more than 8 gigs is pretty much just overkill. It's not needed, and you're pretty much just wasting money. Now on to the graphics card. This is the good stuff. And it took me over a week to decide which to go with, but I decided to get the EVGA GTX 670 for the Win edition. It has 2 GB of GDDR5 memory with a 256-bit memory interface. It's a great card. I was deciding between this and the EVGA GTX 680 for the Win edition with the backplate. But I really didn't want to spend more than $400 to $450, and I can get the 670 for less than $400 right now. Down the line, I can add another 670 in SLI if I wanted to, but that will be quite some time down the line, probably not till like next year. I'd rather wait until developers can code games much more efficiently and make better use of the features like Crossfire or SLI. But until then, the 670 will be more than enough to handle not only Battlefield 3, but all my previous games, my current games, any future games I decide to play at full 1920 by 1080p at 60 plus frames per second. Now finally onto the power supply. I decided to go with the OCC ZT Series 750 watt power supply. It is an 80 plus certified for its power efficiency, so you're not going to be wasting a lot of power. It's fully modular, and it has more than enough wattage to handle all the components that I plan to add onto this rig, and any more that I want to add down the line at a later date. So there you have it. That will pretty much be my main rig come Battlefield 4 and all the other future games I play. For my current rig, really all I plan on doing once I take my hard drive and my optical drive out is to add a 1 terabyte hard drive and a DVD/Blu-ray optical drive. My friend who will be getting my current rig has quite an extensive collection of Blu-ray movies, so this will allow him to play them on the PC. Well, guys, that's pretty much going to be it for this video. I'm excited. I can't wait to start tinkering and building. It seems like it's always a never-ending project. It's something I just love about it. But as always, guys, thanks for watching the video, and thanks for supporting me. See ya.